Okay, the two books theory. This is the idea God wrote two books. One book was we can read, the other book we can study. One book is the Bible, the other book is the creation. You can learn about the Creator by studying the creation. You learn about an artist by studying his artwork. And therefore, for centuries, pastors would teach not only the Bible, but also they would have lectures on the natural world, like this bee example I read earlier. And therefore, they would understand and learn about God through studying his creation. And one thing you learn about God when you study his creation is he loves variety. Enormously loves variety. Almost any variety you can imagine, he seems to include in his creation. And one thing you'll notice that we are the same way. Just looking around, I have not seen two people that are wearing the same thing. Now, two people, yellow shirts there, and I'm trying to see, I don't see anybody wearing the same clothes. And hairstyles, fair amount of variety. Shoes, just looking around in the front row, I see not two people with the same type of shoes. Look at the variety. Cars, that's a good thing. When I leave the shopping center and look for my car, generally there's only one car like mine in the whole lot. They're all different, and that's good. We like variety. We like change. And so God is the same way. And Darwin, though, back to what he thought the cell was really nothing. If you take a look at the cell under a microscope, what do you see? A blob, jelly, they often called it. Amorphous means doesn't have a shape, a definite shape. So evolution was actually not that difficult to imagine back then because life is not that complex. What's in a cell? Just some junk. In fact, when you look at it and you stir it around, you see just like pond water. And that's why they thought we could have evolved, their cells, and then eventually us evolved from pond water. So therefore, it's just not that much complexity. Well, now we realize, and I taught cell biology, that's one of my areas of interest, the cell is the most complex organism in the universe. There's nothing more complex than a cell. And I have several lectures that I present on that. And typically people say, well, it was a good lecture, but I couldn't understand most of it. I was lost. You're talking about the endoplasmic reticulum and the mitochondria and the nucleolus and all the lysosome and all these parts, and I was just all these enzymes and so on. I was lost. And well, just keep studying, you'll pick it up. But now we realize that the single cell, the first cell, has to be so complex. It has to have at least 4,000 genes in order to survive. Now, there are some cells that survive with less because they are parasitic. So without whatever they live on, they couldn't survive. Viruses, of course, is true. Viruses can't do anything unless they're in your cell, and they use your cell mechanism to produce more viruses. But otherwise, viruses are not even called living. Viruses are basically gene machines. That's what my biochemistry book calls them. And here we can see, and I only have a few pictures, the destruction of Germany is just horrific. We pretty much had to level pretty much every major city to get them to surrender. And these are just a few examples. This is, what would this be with the two spires? I forget what that would. Was it Cologne? It could be Cologne, yeah. Cologne, we pretty much leveled. And you can see the soldiers walking through the city. You can see they basically had to pretty much level it the rest of the way and rebuild from the ground up. And when I was there a few years ago, I noticed you could still see bullet holes in many of the buildings. You could still see a lot of the destruction. So they're still working on rebuilding much of the city. And it's just, well, here I give you some data. I think, yeah, this is Cologne. Okay, it was flattened. 90% of the central city was destroyed. There are 5,000 fires. You can see the glow of fires from the RAF, the Royal Air Force, the British. Air crews about 150 miles away. 3,300 homes were destroyed and 45,000 people were left homeless. 474 were killed, 5,000 wounded. And it wasn't as bad as it could have been because back in those days, the basements were built like bomb shelters. So therefore, a lot of people, their lives were saved only because they could go in the basement and survive because the walls were 2-3 feet thick. So therefore, many were able to survive. So, and the tragic thing is, if you think about it, most of these people were Christians, Catholics or Lutherans or other denominations. And I have to ask myself over and over, where was the Christian church when this was happening? It's estimated that if 10% of the Germans would have objected to what they were doing, there wouldn't have been a World War II. Just a small percent objected. There would not have been a World War II. Why didn't they stand up? Well, they went with the flow. Patriotism. They saw their country, Germany, as more important than Jesus. And that's a problem which creationists see today. When people are trying to arrange places that I can speak, all too often they go to a church and the pastor says, well, you know, we don't want to cause controversy in this church. And evolution is controversial. No, it isn't. The evidence is overwhelming.